Good morning, Happy New Year. Thought I'd just do a quick update. I've had a phone call this morning with Darren from Unique. My car is nearly ready to collect. Engine's back in. It's been run. It's got a little bit more road testing to do on it. There's been a few little things that have cropped up whilst doing the road test. Nothing spectacular. There was a misfire, I think he said, on cylinder 1, so we swapped the coil pack over to cylinder 3 to see if it reoccurs. The coil pack seemed okay. There were a few very minor cracks, but obviously there could be one of them that's bad. If that's the case, then obviously that'll get replaced. Also, there is a solenoid, I think it's to do with the valves, to do with the opening and closing of the valves, that was sticking. He took it off, freed it up. It was a little slow, so I've said replace it. It's probably the original, so common sense says to replace it, I would say. It's not a ridiculously expensive part. I think it's about 100 quid. What else? Other than that, there was no surprises, I think I said previously. I've replaced all 6 cylinders, I've obviously replaced all the liners, the Westwood liners, which is the name I couldn't remember, and as I can't remember whether I hinted on the fact that what I've gone for are forged pistons, which are Wasner pistons, and they are specifically coated to be used with steel liners, which obviously is a good thing. Also, each liner has been machined specifically to each actual piston. I think it's slightly oversized, so I think it takes it up to something like 3.65, something like that. From, I think as standard it's just a few cc's under 3.6, so it takes it up to 3.65, I think it is, which is neither here nor there. That's just consequence of using this slightly oversized piston. So I'm looking forward to getting it back. A few little bits. Also, there was a pipe I think I showed that had some corrosion, which was just weeping a little bit of coolant. When the car was hot, I could smell, the sweet smell you get from coolant. I could smell that. So that was spotted when it was up on the ramps, and they've replaced that pipe. So I'm going to go down. Darren's going to put some more miles on the car and then just check again. Firstly, to see if we get any reoccurrence of this coil pack, which is now currently on cylinder 3. If that reoccurs, like I say, I've said just obviously replace it. The other ones seem to be absolutely fine. Spark plugs are fine as well. And then I think it's really just getting the thing up to temperature several times, giving it a bit of a run and just literally checking for leaks, which is standard fare with, when you've just rebuilt an engine. I'm not sure, by the way, we'll find out obviously when I look at this what the sound quality is going to be like. I'm using the built-in microphone on my camera. I've bought a much better microphone, but I need a additional arm for it with a cold shoe on it, so I can mount the actual microphone to the side, and that's not arrived yet. I got a really nice suction mount which is super solid for Christmas, which was one of the few things that I asked for because I've got an engine rebuild for Christmas, obviously. So I'm using that, which is way better than anything I've used before. I was watching one of Harry Metcalf's videos from Harry's Garage, and he uses exactly the same mount that I've now got, so that can't be a bad thing. It wasn't particularly expensive, but for a mount, 93 quid I think it was, including delivery, which I don't think is too bad for a good quality product. It's very well engineered. It's all machined aluminium and really substantial brackets, so hopefully there's not going to be any camera wobble, and hopefully the sound will be okay. So I'm back at work today. I'm just on my way down I've got a couple of properties on the go. I mentioned previously in the other videos that I develop property for a living. My son has just started working with me as well, James. So I'm just on my way down to one of the properties to pick up the humidifier, and then onto the other one where we're just doing the strip out at the minute. So it's good to be back working again, to be honest. I've enjoyed the time off, but I've been itching to get started again. One of the properties, the one I'm going to now, which is the bungalow, it needs a couple more weeks of work and then get that on the market and then crack on, because I've got to pay for the Porsche bits, obviously. So what I'm going to do when I pick the car up, which hopefully will be either be later on this week, so it's Monday today, Monday the 4th, it'll either be end of this week or early next week. I've said to Darren, there's no rush, obviously. You know, with the situation the way it is, the weather being also cold, I'm not really going to have much opportunity. It's not that far, it's still within the county, so I'm alright to pick it up, but I think it will literally just be, I've done a lot of the talking on the phone with Darren, and I've said, well, I'll come down to the workshop and then stay a decent distance away. You can explain any other bits that I need to know, and then I'll take the car, mount the camera, then I'll do another video, I think, for picking it up. One thing he has said is that he'll clear a ramp and he'll put the car up on the ramp for me, so that I can get some shots of the underside and some of the other work that's been done. They've also cleaned up a few of the like the strut bars that are underneath. There are two that come at like 45 degrees from the centre, roughly, where the gearbox ends towards the middle of the car, that come backwards. Thankfully, well, I didn't ask for this, but they've taken those when they were off. They've cleaned them up and given them a couple of coats of paint, which was nice, because there was a bit of surface corrosion. I know that quite often those can rot, I think, which is testament to the fact that, as I've said before, the car has pretty much spent its life garage, which is a big plus now. The car's 17 years old, because the underside is so clean, and when the engine was out we didn't find any corrosion underneath. There was areas where we would have expected to find some and could have been addressed, there wasn't any. So that's really good, and I think testament to the fact is these bars, I've seen them on a few other videos where people, they've rotted through. I know on the Lee, this 911 guy's channel, I watched on there, and on his car, which I think is a 99, I think it's a 1999, might be a 2000, but it's a 996.1 3.4, and they were completely rotted on his car, which isn't any bad thing about the car. It just shows the fact that when they are exposed to the weather, and maybe if the car sleeps outside, they can corrode more. And I think once it starts, if it's not addressed, then obviously the rot can set in relatively quick, which is often the case with any car that's this age. The reason why there are so many older Porsches around is because they're a wonderful car and people save them. If they were something more mundane, then obviously they don't get looked after the same. They certainly don't get rebuilt and refurbished, put back to how they should be, which is happening more and more, and it's happening more and more with 996s as people are hating them less, because they were obviously the ugly duckling for a while. I think there's a lot more people are realising what good value 996s are, and B, what a great driver's car. And as I've said before, I personally really like the look of the headlights. I think the original 996.1 headlights, which people call the fried egg, but I think it was only the very early cars that had actually the amber indicators, which is why they call them the fried egg. There are a lot of cars out there, and I don't know whether they've been changed or whether it's just the fact that Porsche changed them, but they're actually a white indicator with an amber bulb. But that look, I think, is becoming a real classic look now. It's also exactly the same look that was on the GT1. Had pretty much, I'm sure it's not the same white, but they look the same. So I think they got more hate than they deserve, to be honest. I understand that some people maybe just don't like that shape, which is fine. I personally like the old ones. The lights that are on mine, which are the same as on the turbo, look different again. Yes, they're not a oval light, but that doesn't bother me. I like the 997 lights, I like the 993 lights, I like the 964 lights, but I also like the 996 lights. That, you know, they don't cause me any kind of strife when I look at them. I think they're a nice shape. But everyone to their own. I think more people are realising this, and I've had a few people who I've talked to recently who are looking at buying 996s. A chap that's in the TPEC group, which is the Independent Porsche Enthusiast Club that I'm a member of. A chap on there, James, has just bought a really nice 996 C4S, an 02 car. He got it inspected by Darren. He had a really extensive 3 or 4 hour look at the car. before he bought it, and found a few little things that needed addressing, but overall showed that it was a great car. It's done 96,000, I think, is what he said, but it's in fantastic condition. So his plan, I think, with that is to spend a few quid on it over the years, probably rebuild the engine at some point. He's got a 996 GT2 as well, which is a beautiful thing. So yeah, he's obviously a 996 fan like me. So his plan is to do some work on that, and this I think is going to happen more and more, that people will find clean cars. I don't think you should be afraid of a car that's done a few miles. I think it's all down to how it's been cared for, the work that's already been done, and that's what I would always recommend to people. Look at what work has been done, get it properly inspected. That, I would say, is very important. This is exactly what James did. He paid for a proper pre-purchase inspection from somebody completely independent, who obviously has got no kind of influence, you know, over him, wanting him to buy the car. Darren obviously will have done the lot on that. He's done bore scope, he will have checked everything, and you get a real true understanding of the condition of the car. Also, look at what's been spent previously. So my car had, I think it was just over about £6,500 spent, 1,500 miles before I bought it. Lots of key things that would have had to be replaced now when I had the rebuild done, like the clutch, flywheel. It had the IMS done. I can't remember the make. I'm going to have to ask Darren. He told me what make it was. It's one of the better ones, if not one of the top two, I would say, from what he said, brand-wise. Or I'm sure there's plenty of really good solutions out there. There'll be some probably better known than others. I'm sure there's plenty of brands out there that the IMS replacements are perfectly good, and you know. But all I'm going off is what he said. He said that it's a well-known brand. It's quite an expensive one, and they seem to have a good track record. So that had been done on my car. The RMS had been done, which obviously has been replaced again now with the rebuild, but still it had been done. And there were several things that had been addressed, like brake pipes, air conditioning pipes, the front condensers had been done. All these things add up, you know, they're not cheap. As I did and showed in the video before I actually took the car in, I've done a refresh of the control arms and coffin arms, that kind of thing, so that's going to make a big difference to how the car drives as well. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much there now. Obviously I've spent a few quid. The engine rebuild wasn't anticipated, but I kind of glad it's been done in a way now. Other than the spend, the money, I'm glad it's been done, because I know the car is going to be right now, as right as it can be. Which doesn't mean that you can't have problems. I don't think, by that I don't mean any problems with the build, but other things can obviously break, other things can go wrong. I think engine wise, the core engine build, that's it, it's going to be good for so many years now. I'm going to be doing less miles, so I suspect that this, pretty much for the rest of its roadworthy life, I would hope that this engine rebuild will be it. You know, that's all it's going to need. The heads have been reworked as well, so, you know, other than possibly at some point I might find that the car will need some kind of gearbox work, but I'd say it's going to have to do a lot of miles. I know there's a lot of cars out there have done 120, 130,000 miles, and they're still on the original internals for the gearbox. So if I do another 60 in mine, it'll take it up to 120,000 miles in total on the chassis and on the gearbox, which, if maintained properly, is not a lot of miles. You know, they will easily do that. I know that there's cars out there that, I think on Hoover's garage, he bought one a while back that he ended up doing a stupid LS swap and ruining it, but that car had done, I think it was 246,000 miles. It was a 3.4 before it eventually let go, and it let go when it was on track, and he was obviously giving it a lot more stress and strain on the engine, and it finally let go. But yeah, nearly 250,000 miles, so that says a lot really of what they are capable of if they're looked after. So we will see. So my next video will be I think at Unique Porsche, picking the car up, having a look underneath on the ramp, maybe having a chat with Darren on camera as well. I'll see if he's up for that, although obviously we're going to have to be a decent distance from each other, so that might not work. And then me driving it back and my impressions of, you know, the car and running it in. So I'll speak to you soon. Hopefully it'll be within the next 7 days.